Hey, welcome back to Mixed Messages. Heath and Michelle here. Let's get started. Hey. Sounds good in the microphone. You sound good. Talk to us. What's that sound like?
I don't know. Yeah. What do I sound like?
Here we go. See? So we have a first-time podcaster here today. And those of you who have been listening to the show before, you learned a little bit about Michelle, but we wanted you to get to know her from her own voice in front of the microphone. She's saying that it's not as easy as it looks.
No,
just getting started.
Not at all. It's a little nerve-wracking.
It can be. But just like I close my eyes and listen to my audio levels in my head and go, okay, that sounds good. I'll be that guy. So relax and let's enjoy. So before we get started on the topic at hand, I thought it'd be nice for the audience to just get a quick synopsis on, the day in the life of who Michelle's been in the last 38 years. Give us a quick heads up where you come from.
You just told him how old I was.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Since we're talking, I guess, a little bit about relationship, I'll give you some of my relationship history and try not to bore you guys with everything else. I was married once when I was about 22. Which was a very short marriage to my college boyfriend. And I've kind of been in and out of different relationships and single life and dating ever since. We were talking before. I said I kind of expected I would be married like 5 times by now, just because I've always been kind of a relationship person. Yeah. And strangely enough, it hasn't happened again. I do have a 6-year-old daughter, so I got the baby in there, and she's great. And her father and I are navigating the challenging waters of co-parenting,
which is never easy. I've been going through that for many years.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy in the beginning. It's settled down a little bit now, which is nice. I'm really grateful for that. And now here I am with you.
I know. A swipe right later, actually.
Yeah,
we did meet online.
We did. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool. And I was sharing the last episode that we've been pretty much going at this thing for about a year now. We kind of last birthday, September-ish, October-ish, kind of said, hey, why don't we be a thing?
Yeah, it's been a little over a year, and it's definitely been interesting.
Little did we know that we'd be quarantining.
Right. That's been a big change, a big challenge, but
yeah, I mean that could have either made or break us. I think in some ways, right?
Yeah, I felt kind of guilty in the quarantine because I was kind of enjoying the quarantine. I felt like I was thriving during quarantine, and everybody else was having such a hard time. So it was nice to hang out here with you more and figure out what that looked like.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. And we just set up a fish tank tonight even. That's kind of fun. Who does that?
We did. Cute little domestic chores.
Yeah, we have a planter pot now in the house. It's
plants
our mutual
and fish.
Yeah, exactly.
We do need to name the fish.
Well, yeah, the fish has no name.
Think about it.
Yeah. If anybody wants to write in any options, give us ideas for the fish. That would be cool. Nice, yeah. So we were kind of had been listening back to all the other podcasts. Michelle was right there with me listening to them, and as I was kind of putting them out and giving feedback. She's an avid podcast listener, by the way. Do you want to give us just a quick update on like your world with podcasts and what you love?
I'm such a podcast junkie. I listen to all kinds of different podcasts, and but yeah, talking on one is totally different.
What are some of your podcasts, just to throw it out there?
My absolute favorite is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. I do a little true crime. That's kind of how I got into podcasts. A lot of sobriety stuff, and then some real trashy like reality TV things that I'm embarrassed to share. So
start us off.
So the quarantine, I guess, and you and I getting to know each other a little bit more. I'm not the cool girl I tried to be in the beginning, right? Just this.
And that's a great way to kick us off, I think, on our topic, is because you and I have been, kind of tossing around. I mentioned it even in the last episode in regards to, kind of sometimes we seek negative love or unhealthy love. It's almost just as good as good love, if not better, Michelle said, not more sexy or fun or a little scandalous or, adventurous, etc. And so we were kind of looking at, spending more time talking about, well, what does mature love look like in a way that is also still fun and sexy and not scary and getting us to a place of doldrum, right? That we actually are enjoying the benefits of it. And I think that was one of the fun things I mentioned about the guy in Miami, right, in the last episode too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, there are these benefits to actually, having a really cool relationships with somebody over a long period of time. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think, a lot of what I used to think of as love, the fun and exciting, the butterflies, the emotional roller coasters of what relationships look like. I think, going forward, trying to figure out how to avoid a little bit of that emotional turmoil would be wise. I don't know where...
That's that sanity thing that we talked
yes.
about last time, right? And sustainability, right?
Yes.
We're kind of still trying to carry that conversation forward a bit, right? Can we...
I think so. I think it's just the goal is to figure it out for ourselves, because clearly...
Exactly.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. We're trying. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, still have it be interesting. I mean, I think I told you when we first met on the swiping thing and we were kind of texting back and forth or whatever, I said, yeah, break my heart, right? Like I wanted someone, I wanted a little distraction. I think my profile said I was looking for entertainment.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah. And I meant, emotional entertainment. I wanted something to get excited about. I wanted something to, make me feel something. I wasn't necessarily being mature about, trying to look for a partner or something, really lasting. Although at that point I wasn't really ready for anything lasting.
Right,
so
right,
I was still figuring out
a little entangled still a little bit.
I was, I was still living in the same house with my my baby daddy.
I like that. So yeah, be proud of it. It's a good.
Yeah, I had a 3-year-old and so it was a mess. So I definitely wasn't at a place to be looking for a mature relationship, but
here I am.
Here you are.
I was the perfect pick back then.
I know, right?
Then too, I'm not perfect, but just saying. Yeah, I was pretty much ready to provide some entertainment. Distraction.
Yeah, you definitely did that. And that could have been all it was, but here we are.
I know.
So
how about that?
Trying to figure out how to keep it going and keep it entertaining and behave like grown-ups.
Yeah, on this show we talk a lot about stories, and kind of journey through that conversation through, backstories. And I was thinking about a few stories that, I had about what, different examples of mature love that I could pull in, in honor and bring into this one. And, ask that you do the same. And so... I really honestly could only come up with one intimate relationship that I was mature in the last 48 years of my life. I mean, that was a little bit of a kick on the chin for myself because I realized that I couldn't really claim that they were very mature relationships.
Well, you stole my line because
Really?
I really had to reach too. So why don't you, tell me about yours?
So I have basically 3 people, and then here we are making every effort too, right? So, one was intimate relationship when I was back in my early 20s of all things. And then I have 2 friends who I think embody that. And we'll talk about that, but I'll start with the intimate one. So I was a long-haired art student working at the Boyer's coffee shop in Denver, Colorado.
No.
It was a true story. And I had just stopped waiting. I literally had made this very decisive decision in my life that and it's actually kind of a little bit of a fun story, so I can kind of kick it off with that. As I was sitting around in the Denver Center for Performing Arts at the theater cafe, and I had worked there typically, and I made a lot of money, and I felt like I was in a cultured environment, and the last place I'd imagined myself was, serving coffee at a coffee shop. So, but then I was sitting around with all of these really eclectic and eccentric people, and who were the waiters, and then also the actors, and all of them were saying, "Hey, I'm a graphic designer, or I'm an actor, or I'm I'm going to be a producer of these films or whatever." And I was asking all these waiters, like, "Wait a minute, but what was the last graphic design piece you'd done? What is the last any real creative thing that you're saying you're being, or what efforts are you making towards it?" And it always came back to, well, I wait tables, I can't make more money than this elsewhere. I'm trying, but it just looked more like a hobby, and it frankly scared the shit out of me. And it's why I'm sitting here today on the podcast, as I decided to take, this future self, very seriously. And so I could not do much other than I drove around strippers and I worked at a coffee shop.
Tell us more about that.
I'll come back to the stripper story, but I definitely made it to the coffee shop. And that's where I met this lovely woman, Judith, who came in for her morning coffee typically. And I was 22 and she was 52. So it was definitely, everybody had their opinion about that and what that relationship looked like from the outside. Right.
And that's the unconventional version, right? Typically it's the older man and the younger woman.
Yeah, unless you're like the pool boy, you know what I mean? Right. And like, here I am,
the coffee boy.
The coffee boy. Yeah, exactly.
Let me get me a little of that barista.
Yeah, right. And so it was very odd because it wasn't, I typically don't share where I eat, and we're meeting people at work is not my thing, so I've shared that in other conversations we've had. But nonetheless, this, and I met Joaquin at this exact same coffee shop, who's, been one of my dearest friends of 26 years. And we met at the same place, right? So it was this kind of symbolic moment for me of having met him and met Judith. And so I met Judith, and I was the coffee boy who like went out after, and because she was going to the grocery store next, and like waited for her by the door in the snow to help, pack her groceries into the car and see if I could get her number. And I did, and I moved in with her, 6 months later.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So, and of course she had this beautiful house, and she'd been world traveled and was a wholesaler of international goods and had culture and style, and was very spiritual and involved in the spiritual community. And at that time, I was still very, much spending some dedicated time of my own in pursuing those kinds of ways of life. And so to me, we did have this kind of pocket, I guess, of bliss, right? Where we were both very genuine and down to earth, and, we weren't being overly materialistic, and I don't think we were operating on a shit ton of ego, and we just genuinely liked each other. And, she was 52 looking like she was going on 40. Right. And so, I thought I was very mature for my age, having moved out at a, young age. And so it all seemed, like the thing. And then she hit menopause, and I was like 23, 4 years old, and she's going through menopause. And I'm thinking I might be too young for this is one thing, which I've always had to look back at and wonder about. But then, it was all meant to be. She's found a great partner for the rest of her life. And that was one of my one and only real, like, wow, we were really cool and good, and we didn't take each other for granted, and we taught each other a lot, and we had a genuine love, and it was easy and healthy,
That sounds lovely, actually. But why do you think that was a more, what you would call, mature love? Exactly.
You're great. It's like why we tell these stories, right? Yeah. Like, I think one thing is that I had, it somehow inspired me to be my higher self. I guess we've used that term a lot. I don't want to overuse it on the show, but I mean, at that time, because I was surrounded by so much, she had this lovely house that was a high aesthetic, which I like, and it kind of taught me that I love high aesthetic, and so that's when I joined a keto. And was, doing regular keto. And that's when, meditation was a daily practice, right? And she was introducing me to things like ghee, and better foods, and, Paramahansa yoga stuff that my mom had been talking about, but I'd never really taken firsthand because I was rebelling against all that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think one of the things was it kind of helped me remove my rebel, would be one thing I would take away from it, and kind of lean in more on that without that rebel self. And then just the daily practices, and the kind of commitment to some kind of, I want to be this better, good person. And this is kind of what that person looks like. And I think often past that, I stopped knowing what that person maybe looked like, or stopped even looking, and took it from like a first person point of view versus then it was kind of, I had an idealistic version of myself, and
sure,
it was like practically some kind of prophet someday.
Yeah. No, I think that's one of the best things about relationship, when you can get in that sweet spot where you are inspired to grow and to learn, and you like somebody, so you're a little more open-minded, you're a little more pliable, to get into the stuff they're into. And I think that's a lot of the gifts that we can get from each other. I had to stretch and reach for some example of a mature romantic relationship, and I don't have one per se that is
pieces and parts then of some.
Yeah, the only one I could come up with, and it's no longer a romantic relationship, but my child's father and I, just recently, I mean, it's taken us, she's 6 and we started dating, a few years before she was born. So it's taken us about 8 years to find ourselves in a place where I think we're now able to have a mature love, familial love or friendship love.
Yeah.
I like you had a relationship back there with a man about 20 years older than I was, and I really expected that relationship to be, a more mature relationship. I was about 26 when we met, and he was 47, I believe. And but that didn't turn out to be so mature of a relationship.
Super adventure, though. I love hearing the stories. You traveled the world together.
Yeah,
and,
he was quite wealthy, so that was nice. I got to go on some really nice trips and meet some interesting people, and from that perspective, I learned some things from him about business and life, and I was able to put in perspective the wealthy people and the rich and famous people, and we lived out in LA, and I had this idea of all these other people, and so that was a good learning experience to kind of put that in a perspective that everybody is the same. We all have the same problems. They're not some different class of humans just because they have money or fame. But as far as our relationship, I don't know that it was super mature. And, I obviously had a huge part in that. I was figuring myself out, still figuring myself out. But, I was probably not my best self at that time.
Mm-hmm. And the Gavin, experiences that you're having now, which I would agree, just from looking from the outside in and being a part of this with you, seemed awesome. You guys do something. You're making a really, that you have that common experience and love for each other that is coming, in a really respected way. And there's only good things that can come from that. What are some of the ways those are showing up? As him as your ally, or him as your friend, or him as your child partner? How is it? What are some of the examples that kind of touch you? Make you feel more comfortable and confident in the relationship?
I feel, after enough time with him that we are, and because we share a child, that we are, a family forever, whatever that looks like. I do feel like he has my best interest at heart. He's supportive of me. I feel the same way. I want nothing but the best for him. I feel like we both want the best for our child, and I think it's really taken, I think we had a decent relationship for a number of years there, and then went a little awry, but I think the removal of the romantic love and the emotional reactiveness now allows us to actually be genuinely friends and want the best for each other. And it's taken a lot of time to figure out boundaries. Like, we for a while had really murky boundaries, and when Elodie was a baby, I was going on vacation with him because I didn't want hand my baby off to go to another country. And so, we were sharing a house. And so, yeah, figuring out where the line is has been kind of a delicate process. But I feel like recently we're really getting there. So that's my only example. All my other romantic relationships have been filled with, not completely, but, enough drama. And,
you had some pain shopping, some shit shows, and some letting go, and things like that, and stacking, and all that too.
Crazy behavior, mine and other people's, and some of that also comes from some outside issues that I needed to work through on my own to be available for a mature relationship, and without addressing those things in myself, I think it was going to be the same thing over and over, either based on the people I was choosing or my own behavior. So yeah, at 38, I feel like I'm I just now have the capacity to participate possibly in a mature relationship.
Right? Isn't that wild? I feel the same way. I'm just like right now, just I'm a little different age group here, but
we're slow learners,
or maybe rebellious. I don't know.
Yeah.
But even with the Gavin thing and seeing that kind of unfold over the time that we've been together as friends before, and then, and friends with benefits from before a little bit, right? And that maneuvered into a relationship, but. I asked, hey, you guys actually do get along really well. You do really know each other well. You kind of finish each other's sentences in some ways, right? You have familiarity. Why not rework it out? While you've got Elodie.
Yeah.
What's the stop? And you seemed pretty convicted that you guys felt like this was definitely, you wanted to make sure that the romantic side was removed from this, or was there anything there that was definitive about why you guys haven't made that decision?
Yeah, we kicked that decision around here and there, on both of our ends through different expressions. I think that once the emotional pain, once you have enough space away from whatever emotional pain you're having, you just can't really go back. But yeah, I agree with you. There was a point where it would have just sort of made more sense. But I don't know that either of us were willing to open ourselves up to that again. I think there's sometimes just too much that's been done. Too much emotional struggle.
I've always said, I have this super long fuse, Now again, whether it's in, healthy love or unhealthy love, it's pretty much the same. There's a long fuse. So it means I can live out the shit show longer, or I can live out the good stuff longer, I think, right? But once it hits that last little snippet, that just kind of goes out.
Yeah.
I've pretty much had a record of never going back past that sniff of the flame. You know? And so
I'm glad I know that. I was so worried. I'm like, oh my God, am I pushing too far? Is the fuse? Where's the breaking point?
Right. Yeah. And I think I often throw up a whole bunch of red lights and say, don't go this far. Please just, back it up a notch. And, but anyway, yeah. So I felt the same way, right? People ask me that, of course, when I had two young sons, and Nikki and I, seemed to have charisma together, and at least, right. And it's like, why aren't you guys being more mature and more responsible and just, making this family of marriage again?
Yeah.
But like you said, there is such a thing as compatibility, intimately and in partnership. And sometimes I know that brings me to my second story, which is, my other example is with Judy, who I've talked about on the show. And she's came into my life about 17 years ago and helped me raise my boys, and has been a dear friend in the process. And we actually are both born on the same day, February 5th, which is
crazy.
Gives us a lot of weird, compatibility, and as you've seen, co-living and everything.
Yeah.
And
Judy's great. And she lives here for all you out there.
And she lives here. I live with two women.
And she's awesome.
In the house.
Sister wives,
exactly. And so, we in the same way of, having co-custody, really, I feel like I can say for myself, I certainly shared raising my children with their mother, and we had that experience, and that was that experience for the boys, and that's what it was meant to be. So it's a beautiful thing. But my experience with co-raising was with Judy, right? And we didn't have the romantic. She was married and from Trinidad, and I was still kind of newbie dad. I didn't have any clue what I was doing, and doing a lot of healing of my own of not having a dad, trying to be a dad, which was, probably all at once. She kind of came in during a young, overwhelmed man's life at the age of 30 and a wild man at that, right? And so, but she's embraced me unconditionally, right? And I think she feels the same, that I've embraced her unconditionally.
Yeah.
And that we don't disrespect each other hardly ever. I can't imagine a time when we've made an attempt to show disrespect. I mean, whether it be if our actions did that, then we try to take accountability for that, but actually make an intention to, do that. Sometimes that remote romantic relationship stuff where you kind of throw a dagger into somebody or try to hurt somebody because you're hurting or want attention or whatever, right? We just removed that entirely from the equation. And it just kind of allowed us to get, to have a long-lasting, I believe, mature love for each other.
Yeah, I think the removal of that romantic aspect definitely gives a lot of clarity. And yeah, I think a lot of the problems that people have in their romantic relationships are when we are acting out of fear and, where our motives are coming from and the power balance that comes along with the man-woman sexual intimate relationship. And so if you don't have that power balance or that struggle, or you're not searching for some sort of validation, and you don't have all of those pieces, I think it's easier to to love and accept somebody for who they are and try to be collaborative and work together and maintain a relationship, whether it's in both of these examples, we're talking about raising children. So I think maybe having a common goal is helpful to nurturing that kind of mature relationship.
That's a great point. Actually having a common goal too. Yeah. So yeah, kind of summarize here. I mean, we've got a few findings, right? Having a common goal being one can be very helpful in, creating a more mature kind of respectful love, maybe. Again, I think being friends.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I find that unfolding more and more in our relationship, and in my ability to both give and receive love with you, is that, as much as I'm still physically attracted to you and have a romantic love for you.
Tell me that again.
Yeah, I'm just terribly, incredibly physically attracted to you and very romantic feelings for you. I do find that I can, kind of be my best self in the relationship, kind of whatever that looks like, and be more thoughtful and be less jealous and less of an asshole, and whatever that comes up is when I'm looking at you as a friend, when I'm finding ways, like I talked about in the last thing, of the love tank stuff, of, kind of the friendship, becomes a baseline.
I think the friendship is really one of the most important things. I do think for a mature relationship or a lasting one, that friendship is definitely, I would say the most important thing. You've kind of taught me, and I've, opened my eyes a little bit to the romantic component is also something we need to nurture. I may have been guilty in the past of, once you settle in with somebody, leaning more on the companionship and the friendship, and kind of forgetting about the romantic, sexual, intimate partnership. So that's something I try to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a funny joke, but I forgot it.
No, really? You think it'll come back?
I don't know.
Okay.
There was something witty. There was a great opening there, but
damn it.
I know.
I had to thank you though.
Terrible. You're welcome.
Yeah. I really appreciated you exploring that with me in all ways. And it's been, as you knew, it was kind of one of my big fears and beating of the drum, right? It's
right.
like, what's up with you, Heath? Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it can even feel like a burden in the early times, maybe, of someone who's...
Oh, such a burden. Let me get dressed up cute and make sure we have sex.
Yeah.
No, not a burden.
Not a burden?
No, you may.
All right, well, it's working. Yeah, and so I guess, another story of mine from a friendship thing as well is, I think, Sue Terry has showed up as a friend that I've been able to have over, I guess now a decade, right? Which once again is a non-romantic, kind of like what I had when you were kids, when you were, like we talked about with my friend Corey as a kid.
But you met her on a swiping app, did you not?
We did meet online, brief dating experience, but
keep going.
Post then, I think we made a very healthy, mature decision to turn what was initially a dating experience into a very real, true friendship. Which is, as you've seen, what I've gone through even lately with love and loss and friendships. I truly treasure them more and more now, and I really get more how you can count your friends on one hand at the end of your life, and you're lucky. You know what I mean? And that's what I think also really, kind of started to help me make good decisions about being in a relationship. I always called, her for a lot of sanity around relationships. And she always said, when you get, who gets an intelligent analyst as a woman giving you advice on women, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a lucky guy.
You
right?
are lucky.
And so she's given me a lot of good advice over the years. It's actually helped shape me into more of, I think, somebody who's more available for this kind of relationship now with you, right? But also just kind of, I think, looking at friendships and less is best. And as you've talked about, you like having a person, and I was on the more so. I mean, we like dating, we all like dating, but we also really prefer having a person, is what you said.
Yeah, I'd much rather have a person.
Right? That's kind of what you said.
Yep.
And my friend Roman was on the mic here a bit ago, and he said the same thing. Like, he's a person who wants to have his person, right? And I think that I was kind of fighting this idea that, once you have a person, you just become codependent in relationship, right? And then kind of reset. You just start kind of like the romance starts to die. You kind of like start to take each other for granted. You now feel like you can cross boundaries with each other and actually put each other's lives at risk in some cases, whether it be through abuse or of any kind, or just, making bad decisions, right? And so I was, kind of thinking to myself, and we talked about this with the codependent versus the codependent, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking to myself, wow, I've spent probably one of the reasons why I haven't been able to really have a real mature relationship until now, other than that brief glimpse of a moment in my 20s, was that, I was kind of assuming all relationships were pretty much guaranteed to become codependent, and that was a negative, right? And so... and I'd, been exposed to these books growing up from my mom with, women who love too much. And
Codependent no more.
Codependent no more. Exactly. Like, I indulged on all of those to kind of understand what they look like, probably then played them out, and now I know. So I have firsthand experience, but, I probably didn't have a lot of faith that people had the skills or the tools to get through and navigate through those codependent relationships once they got too codependent, once they became dependent on each other more. And so then I think that caused me to probably have a lot of arm's length in relationship, and that sent a lot of mixed messages to other partners that I had, where I was probably saying, oh, I'm all about the love and we got to be love, and then I'm kind of throwing out this fearful stiff arm that says but only,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly what I was just about to say, but only this much.
Exactly. Yeah. Any thoughts on that? And kind of but just to tap that off, is that you really brought, and you've said this all along, but you really kind of, before we got on the show, you really brought it to the attention of mine of there's of course all that other nasty shit, but there's this real sense of, it's nice to be dependent on another person. That's what you do in relationship. Tell me more about what that looks like. Maybe we can paint more of a picture about even a fantasy version that we haven't lived of what really, having those kinds of partnerships, dependency, and an intimate partnership, right? We've kind of explained it now with co-parenting, but it might be interesting to imagine what we kind of, our visual idea of this is.
Right. So what's our ideal version of a mature relationship?
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, well, I can relate. I think all those fears that you were talking about are really common. Trying to figure out where is that balance between protecting yourself and your own boundaries, and then, what's the word they use? Loving, not blindly, fearlessly, or something like that, right? Like
radical love concept.
Radical love, or being fearless and courageous, and not being worried about getting hurt or holding people at arm's length. I think that's really tricky and challenging, and I think the older you get, I know for myself, I think I'm getting better at keeping those boundaries, which in one sense is a good thing, but I think we can also go a bit too far where we do our relationships a disservice by, kind of insulating ourselves from our partners. And it's a really tricky thing. And I just was kind of arguing with you about codependence, because I just feel like the word in general gets kind of a bad rap. Like, I don't want to encourage people to be codependent, but if you look at a marriage or a partnership, I feel like there is an aspect of that you're on a team with somebody is your person. Like, it's okay to be dependent on another human.
Yeah.
I do. I kind of would like that sort of partnership in my life.
I've swayed there now, right? Like I have, like I'm truly swayed on it, right? I mean, there was whether I can live into it, how much more I can get fearless about love. I mean, that's really the journey we're on, right? And but I do think learning that it is that it's actually that shit that I like now, that it's actually fun, right? And that's one thing I'm learning from it is, if you really, it's like a job. They say you do what you love, right? If the relationship is actually showing up, and it feels exciting, and there's, we're looking forward to future things that we're talking about doing together, or, we get to, I don't know, scare you around the corner to make you laugh or something, you spook you, something, just silly stuff, right? It just kind of like you're actually getting what you want in the relationship. You're enjoying it. And so there's got to be like a reward versus this whole umbrella. Well, this is what we're supposed to go into as a relationship, right? And make it something. It's kind of, I don't know. It's from the inside out. It seems fun, and it formed into a relationship more and more for me every day.
Yeah.
From the fun of it, not because I decided to make it a relationship more.
Exactly.
I didn't wake up today and go, I'm going to double down on my relationship with Michelle and really make sure I get more of a relationship out of it. It's more like, how more can I give into this to enjoy it and receive?
Yeah. I think things naturally evolve in relationship, but I think if we are too mindful or too aware of what our motives are, and wait, let me not be codependent, or things like that, we can kind of get in our own way.
Overthinking it in that sense, right? Mm-hmm.
It's like, can we just live it? We have to talk about it and think about it all the time.
And we've talked about that, which is kind of funny. Like, when we were in our friendship mode and had, we were very playful at sharing lots of our backstory and our history, right? And I think, you've laughed, and that's a whole other podcast. So that's why we know you're going to be coming back. But, I do think it was fascinating that we, had to, we are, and we do, and had to walk through kind of having all this extra information about our past that we, some we're proud of and some we're not, and then being able to move forward fiercely in the relationship and find our own versions of, getting over our own shit and radical love and all that stuff that I do think plays a part in people becoming more trusting and a more stable relationship, because they kind of have given in to all their opinions about the other and, just choosing it.
Yeah, I think, the one gift we have is that I think we both know what we're getting.
Yeah,
and
I love
what
that.
we're in for.
I wouldn't do it over again. I mean,
no, but there's probably some information that we both would prefer not to have.
So much and no regrets, but still, I could have erased some of those.
Yeah, we haven't both been able to present the beautiful and charming and perfect facade of maybe the person I would like you to see.
Right.
But I think it's actually better that we have come to see the actual, real, and authentic person. And yeah, it brings up a lot of, sometimes, not a lot, but from time to time, vulnerability and trust issues. And one thing that I was thinking of when you were talking about keeping relationships at arm's length and kind of, compartmentalizing or only to a certain point is that there's no room for personal growth there. I think if you continue to just move different people through, you kind of run through the same kind of exercise of the start of a relationship. So I think it's nice to be able to practice all of these things, dealing with trust issues or being mindful about our personal boundaries or deciding how we're going to design our relationship, or, if you can stick around with another person, it gives you the opportunity to, practice these things and possibly grow and change. So, yeah, that's all the wise wisdom I have.
That was a major drop. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of as it was washing across me on that, and it just feels good hearing you say it. I remembered when I had just come out of the divorce, and I used to be a big hugger. I was like a hippie hugger, I still hug long now, right? But I was the whole heart-to-heart hugger kind of guy. And after I went through the trauma of the divorce and having these 2 kids and life kind of crashing on me for a minute, I noticed that I had started having panic attacks when people tried to hug me. Like, not panic attacks, I just mean like my heart would race, right? And it never happened before. Right? Like I was like way too groovy hugger. It was probably good to find a middle ground. That's probably saved a lot of people from a lot of, ridiculously embarrassing hugs
awkward
from me.
Guy.
Right? I was.
Dinner party.
I was so that awkward guy. And I'm glad I'm not now, to be frank,
Well,
but,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm still, tamed down, I hope. But, what really rocked me to the core is that I felt it at the very beginning when I was hugging my children. And that was kind of like, it was almost like hitting an emotional rock bottom, right? I'm like, I can't carry on, I got to heal something in me, in order for me not to have my heart beat when my little 4-year-old innocent, beautiful child comes and rubs up into my arms, right? And so I've mentioned in other episodes, I did a bunch of therapy time, therapy of the heart, and did all kinds of EFT and tapping and, different methods to kind of get over that first level of trauma.
Sure.
And of course, now you see me do the ridiculous long hugs with my boys all the time, right? You're a witness to that.
No, never.
We love each other, and we're not afraid to show it, but it's, but I probably, that's the work I feel like I'm doing even now with you, and softening up that same place that maybe doesn't have heart, panics anymore with true hugs and intimacy, but, I get to, because I still do it with other people, right? Like if I don't know somebody, it hasn't gone away entirely. I forced it to go away with my children, which gave me the opportunity to know that it didn't go away for good.
Right.
And as, I've gotten really close with you and comfortable and everything, right? I don't feel that at all, right? But I know that it's there. And so it's almost like, how deep can I go with, and how is there, you will probably help, mirror that back, is where's my own stiff arm, right? Because I'm sure you could go into a whole other podcast about, where my stiff arm still is in our relationship.
Maybe. I don't actually have anything to say on that.
All right, good. Whoa. I mean, we'll save it for another show, but.
No, but I relate with that struggle, right? I feel like it's that internal struggle of, when to be soft and when to harden up, and how much, it makes me sad sometimes when I feel like I've gotten too self-protective or too, hard towards the world. And I think that happens to people as a method of self-protection. And, you don't want to lose that. Because you just don't want to be this weeping ball of, emotion and, basically like you're walking around with no skin, but I don't want to be the other way. And it comes up in all kinds of relationships, but in romantic relationships, I think it's especially important. Like, when is it safe to be vulnerable? When is it safe to invest? How much intimacy do you give this person? How much, of your own boundaries do you break? How codependent, are you willing to get? And I feel like if it's too much, it's wrong. But if it's too little, you're not giving the relationship a fair shot. So yeah, I find that really challenging and kind of just an interesting thing to think about.
Well said. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, really, I agree. I mean, yeah, it is. That's what we're doing the show for, really, right? So these are the things that we're navigating through.
Yeah.
We're assuming other people are having the same kind of conversations or opinions or thoughts, at least, and maybe they're not having the conversation, which is why they tune into a podcast.
I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are too. Exactly. Yeah.
But no, I feel like, sometimes with you, I joke and I say, like, I do cry. Like, I don't have a cold black heart, right?
She's pretty stoic.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want to be that way. And I feel like when I was younger, I was so emotional and empathetic, and things just really hurt me. And I felt, and that's probably part of the reason when I told you in the beginning, please break my heart, right? Like, that's what I was asking. Give me a little fun, give me a little adventure, somebody make me really feel something. But yeah, I do cry. I don't have a cold black heart.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite now. She's saying it's ridiculous. I cry all the time, and it's stupid. It's like I used to be the guy who's like, since I haven't cried since I was beaten as a child at 4th grade, and I spent my whole childhood not crying. I couldn't cry, and it was actually true. And then I saw Schindler's List, and I haven't stopped crying. So that one just wrote that little pink dress, boom, everything came out of me, and from that moment on, I cried, and now I cry over like Sister Act 2, like stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean that's this is. I think this is about far as we can go tonight. I mean, we've got plenty more conversations to be had, and I think we've talked about bringing in Judy next to be able to kind of talk about what that mature friendship and love means to her, and what her versions of some of this, and we're going to kind of carry this theme on a little bit over the next few episodes. I know my son has mentioned wanting to jump on too, and I'd love to have you maybe even interview my son instead of me, but we'll see how it goes, right? But did you have fun?
I did. Okay? Yeah, this is great. This is all new. Like I said, it's not as easy as it looks, but yeah. Looking forward to having more conversations, more fireside chats.
Exactly. Okay, we'll treat it like that. And any last thoughts for the show or for our listeners?
I don't really have anything right now.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I don't either. Mixed messages. Mixed messages. Thanks for joining Mixed Messages. We'll see you next time. Mixed messages.